Good morning, students. Welcome to the lecture of Real Analysis 2. In the last lecture, we have seen an important concept of Lebesgue measurable set. Lebesgue measurable sets are the sets which are going to satisfy this kind of condition. That is, for any set A, outer measure of A is outer measure of A intersection X log added with outer measure of A intersection E complement. In detail, we have seen that how these two works as the partition of the set A with the help of or due to the set E, right? And then we have seen this is called as any set E which is going to satisfy this restriction is going to call as Lebesgue measurable set. Okay. By countable subadditivity property of outer measure, generally this in whatever the equation we have written in the definition itself, this is going to hold for less equal. Therefore, whenever we want to show that the set is measurable, it is sufficient to show that outer measure of A is greater equal by this right hand side that we have seen. Similarly, we have seen the important lemmas. The first one says that if any set is measurable, then its complement is also measurable. In order to show that the complement is measurable, we want to show actually like this. Outer measure of A is outer measure of A intersection complement added with outer measure of A intersection complement of E complement. But the fact we know is complement of E complement is E itself. Therefore, this is going to give us directly that the set is measurable. Okay. Later we have seen some examples. The first example is set empty set and set of all real numbers are measurable. To show that R is measurable, we have calculated this outer measure of A intersection R and outer measure of A intersection R complement. Right? Then we have proved R is measurable. We have not written the proof of empty set is measurable because complement of R is empty. Already we have proved that complement of measurable is measurable. That's why 5 one can say is measurable. One more lemma important it is whenever the outer measure of any set E is 0, then this is measurable. Whenever outer measure of the set E is measurable, or outer measure is 0, then the set is measurable. It doesn't mean that whenever the set is measurable, its outer measure is 0. No. Okay. Only outer measure 0 implies the set is measurable. We have seen the proof as well. Later we have seen all the examples of the measurable set. All finite sets having outer measure 0 measurable. All singleton sets measurable. All countable sets also have outer measure 0. Therefore all these countable sets are also measurable. Therefore here we have written a general comment that any countable infinite set is measurable. Similarly, Cantor set is also measurable because we have proved in the previous lecture that the outer measure of a Cantor set is 0. Lastly, we have seen a lemma that if there are two measurable sets, say E1 and E2, then their union is also measurable. Now, to prove that the union is measurable, actually, we have made some adjustment and we have seen the proof in detail. I hope there is no difficulty in the proof of the three lemmas. If you have, you can ask me. Okay. But if I denote the set of all measurable sets, collection of all measurable sets to be by this curlium symbol, okay. If this set is under the consideration, we have proved two lemmas that if E is measurable, its complement is measurable, therefore this complement belongs to curlium. If two sets are measurable, their union is also measurable, therefore the union is belonging to the curlium. Therefore it means actually that the collection curlium of all measurable sets is closed under complementation and is also closed under finite union as well. Also, we have seen a definition of a Boolean algebra. No? What is the definition of a Boolean algebra? A set is said to be an algebra or Boolean algebra if it is closed under complement and finite union. By De Morgan's laws, one can say it is closed under finite intersection as well. Therefore, by using these two properties, closed under complementation and closed under finite union, one can say that curlium, collection of all measurable sets, is algebra. Okay. Next, we have seen the definition of sigma algebra also. What is sigma algebra? Sigma algebra is an algebra which is closed under countable union. In algebra, the union is finite. But in sigma algebra, the union considered is countable. Therefore, if an algebra which is closed under countable union, okay, is called as sigma algebra. Closed under countable union, equivalently one can say that closed under countable intersection. Because as we have started with an algebra, therefore it is closed under complement as well. Okay, so we have this m curly m to be an algebra. Now our aim is to show that this curly m is a sigma algebra. This curly m is sigma algebra. What should I prove if I want to prove this to be sigma algebra? What notion should I prove? Algebra there already. We just want to claim that this curly m is sigma algebra.
Curly M is closed under countable union or countable intersection.
Good. We have to show that curly m is closed under countable union or countable intersection. We were going to prove that this is closed under countable union. This is what a main theorem today we were going to discuss. That collection of all measurable sets is sigma algebra. But before going to the proof of this statement, we will prove an important lemma useful for proving the main theorem. Actually, the use of this lemma or one of the applications of this lemma says that the outer measure is finitely additive. What is the meaning of finitely additive? What is the meaning of countably additive? We wanted to prove actually m star of union n of the set say an. We wanted to prove it as equal to summation m star of an. Right now, what is the range for this n?
1 to infinity.
1 to infinity. Whenever this is running from 1 to infinity, we were going to call this additive property is countably true. Right now, therefore, the name of the property we have written, this is countably additive. We can add all these outer measures one by n in order to obtain the outer measure of this union part. Okay. If I replace the word countably additive to finitely additive, what will be a change?
Infinity will be replaced by some k.
Yes, and from 1 to k, some finite number, right? That is, this property is additive, but for finite number or finite union only. Therefore, one can write this as n from 1 to k, outer measure of a n. Okay, is the difference clear between the two steps or 2 points, countably additive and finitely additive, right? Now, whatever the lemma we were going to prove as a first theorem or first proposition of today's lecture will imply that outer measure is finitely additive, and using this outer measure is finitely additive, we are going to prove that this curly m is sigma algebra. We were going to prove that this curly m is sigma algebra. Okay, if let us come to today's lecture, the lemma we wanted to prove. Okay, let me first write the statement of a lemma. Lemma says that let A be any set. Let A be any set and some E1, E2 to En be the finite sequence of measurable sets. Finite sequence of, disjoint measurable set. Disjoint is the condition added. Disjoint measurable set. Measurable sets. Then prove that. What it is asked to prove us, just concentrate. This is outer measure of A intersection union I equals to 1 to n EI is equal to summation I equals to 1 to n outer measure m star of A intersection EI. Okay, this is what we wanted to prove. Just think what will happen if we replace this set A by a real number set itself. A will be replaced by set of real numbers, that is R. Then what is this intersection?
Union
intersection?
EI.
Yes, this is union EI. And what for R intersection EI? EI. Okay.
EI.
Therefore, what this statement is going to give us? M star of union EI, I running from 1 to N is equals to summation M star of EI. Correct now? Because R intersection, this is the term itself. Similarly, R intersection EI is EI itself. Right? Therefore, if we prove this lemma, and as a particular case, if we replace this set A by set of real numbers, then this gives us additivity property. But additivity is true only for finite number of or finite union. Correct now? Union of finite number of measurable sets. That's why it is going to give us finitely additive property. Okay, this lemma is going to give us finitely additive property. Let us come to the proof. Let us come to the proof. This is actually for finitely, or you can say finite union of the sets, measurable sets. Therefore, to prove this lemma, we were taking the help of mathematical induction. Okay, let us prove this by mathematical induction. How to prove by mathematical induction? Initially, we will prove that the result is true for n equal to 1. Okay. Then we will make the induction hypothesis that the result is true for value less than n, say n minus 1. And lastly, we will prove that the result is true for the value equal to. Is that okay? Do you know why the proofs are given by mathematical induction property? Why the result is true if we do these steps? What steps we were going to do? Let us prove the result is true for n equal to 1. Make the induction hypothesis that the result is true for n minus 1 and prove it as equal to true for n. If we do, how can we say that the result is going to hold? Good. That is proof of mathematical induction. Do you know? Or you know only this as a procedure? Yes? Do you know? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. If you know it, it is very good. What you do, you just write the proof and send me on the WhatsApp, right? Let me come to this mathematical
Okay, ma'am.
induction. Okay. We will prove the result by mathematical induction. We will prove the result by mathematical induction. What will happen if I take the value of n equal to 1? This is our step number 1, no? Step 1. To prove that the result is true for n equal to 1. Okay, let us check what will happen if I put the value of n is equal to 1. What will be a case? This is m star of a intersection. I runs from 1 to 1, no? Therefore, there is only one term, that is E1. Correct? Now, some union runs from I equal to 1 to 1. N equal to 1 I am substituting. Therefore, there is only one element, that is E1 itself. Okay? This is the value of left hand side set. This is left hand side, right? What is right hand side? Again, this summation is running from 1 to 1. So what is the, there is only one term rather, right now? And what is the term for I equal to 1? Intersection?
Intersection E1.
E1. Therefore, may I say the result is true? Trivially.
Yes, ma'am.
The result is going to hold for n equal to 1. Now what is the next step? Let me make the induction hypothesis. Induction hypothesis. And now what we were going to assume in this induction hypothesis? Hypothesis means an assumption, no? Let the result is true for, let the result is true for n minus 1. If the result is true for n minus 1, we will replace this n by n minus 1. What will be a statement? M star of A intersection union I equals to 1 to n minus 1 EI is equals to summation I equals to 1 to n minus 1 outer measure of A intersection EI. This is going to holds. This holds. Okay. Now let me make the third step. What to prove? To prove that the result is true for any n. The result is true for any n. Okay, any n means we want to prove the statement itself, right? Now, if we look at the statement, this is union I running from 1 to n. Here is the union I running from n1 to 1 to n minus 1. On the right also running from 1 to n minus 1. So, which term I have to add on the right hand side or on the left hand side, so that it will become summation I running from 1 to n. En is the term should be added, no? In this term. In this, what we have to add? I equal to 1 to n, that is En is added. So now we were going to make use of the fact that the set En is measurable, because E1, E2, En is given to be the finite sequence of disjoint measurable sets. If En is measurable, okay, here let me start with let En is measurable. Let En is measurable. What is the definition of measurable says? For any set, na? Again. For any set B. Yes?
M star of A is equal to
B. I am writing B. M star of B is M star of
B intersection En
hmm,
plus M star of B intersection En complement.
B intersection En complement. This is true for any set B. Now what we will do? We will select the value of a set B such that this result has to hold, right? Therefore, as we have made the induction hypothesis that the result is true up to n minus 1, therefore just to add en part in that, we will select the value of B as outer measure of this part. We will select B. Okay, what B I am going to select? B I am going to select outer measure of B I am going to select A intersection union EI. Therefore, if I put the value on the left hand side, this is going to give me the outer measure of the set, no? That is left hand side. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, therefore, what should I put? Let us put B as the set in the left hand side, colored with red, underlined with red color, right? So let me choose B. What I should choose B? B is A intersection union I equals to 1 to n EI. Is that okay? Therefore, if I choose B as a set, this set, then what should I find out first? B intersection En and B intersection En complement. Okay, I should find B intersection En and B intersection En complement. Therefore, let us go on finding this. What is the value of B intersection En? B is A intersection union I equals to 1 to n. Let me put a bracket. EI. Let me put a square bracket. Intersection with En. Right now? Any difficulty? We have started with
No, ma'am.
be measurable because En we want to add so that the sum will go from up to n. Right now? En is measurable is a fact we wanted to use. So let me find out the value of this. Okay. How will you find out this bracketed intersection A intersection union EI? By distributive laws. Yes. A intersection union EI. Anyone from the students? Is it union I equals to 1 to n A intersection EI?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct, no? Reason you may write like this, no? What's the reason? Or I can write simply by distributive laws. By distributive laws. Now what the distributive law says that if I take A intersection E1 union with E2, how we were evaluating this? A intersection E1 union with A intersection E2. That is union of A intersected with E1, A intersected with E2. Here also we have taken union of A intersected with every EI. A intersected with every EI. Then how should I follow this intersection also? Is it union? Is it union I equals to 1 to n A intersection EI intersection EI? Is that okay? Intersection is taken with every set and then a union. Again, which laws I have used? Distributive laws, no? E intersection with union. Okay, is that fine to everyone? This is A intersection EI, intersection EI. Now we will try to find out the value of this term. In order to find out the value of this set, a property is given to us that the sets are disjoint measurable sets. Okay, therefore here I will write since EI are disjoint. Okay, if EI is disjoint, what about the intersection EI with EN?
Empty set.
Empty. For what? I not equal to n, right? And what will happen if I take I equal to n?
EI.
En.
It is En. Very good. Okay. This is the value. What about the total bracket then? This implies A intersection EI intersection En equal to. Now you have to tell me what for I not equals to n and what for I equal to n. EI intersection En is empty for I not equals to n. Then A intersection empty will be?
Empty.
Yes, it is empty for I not equals to n. And then for I equal to n, this intersection is En. Then what about A intersection En? This is A intersection En. Because we don't know what is the exact relation between those, that A and En. For time being, let me keep En only. Is that okay?
Yes,
Therefore, let us put it in the above equation. Therefore, let me write this as B intersection En. Therefore, above equation becomes. What this above equation is? B intersection En equal to. Let us run up the sum I equal to 1 to n. And whenever I not equal to n, we will get empty. Whenever I equals to n, we will get A intersection En. Therefore, for I equal to 1, empty, right? Union, I equals to 2, empty. Union, continue. Let me put the last value, I equal to n. And for I equal to n, the value is A intersection En. Okay, then what is my total union?
A intersection.
Intersection En.
Yes, is A intersection En. Okay, let me give the statement numbers so that I can use it later. So this is 1. Now first value we have calculated. B intersection En we have calculated and we got it as A intersection En. Now which value I should find? B intersection En complement. Right now? So here let me put that this as 2. And now we will go for finding B intersection En complement. What is B? A intersection union I equals to 1 to n EI. Intersection with En complement. This is what we want to find. Again, first we will use the distributive laws in order to write this value A intersection union. And this is union I equals to 1 to n A intersection EI, just now we have seen by distributive property. Intersection with En complement. Next, how should I evaluate this? This is union I equals to 1 to n A intersection EI intersection En complement. Correct? Here we have found the value of A intersection EI intersection with En. Now you have to tell me the value of A intersection EI intersection En complement. Right? Again I will write, since EI are disjoint, I think no need to repeat that EI intersection EJ value. Let us write directly A intersection EI intersection En complement. I think we should write it so that it will be easy for you. EI intersection En complement. What is the value? Again, two different cases we have to discuss, for I equal to n and for I not equal to n. Oh, first I'll write not equal. Yes. What about EI intersection En complement? Yes, it is. Someone has given the answer.
EI.
Yes, it is EI. Here let me just show you. So these are our circles, E1, E2, etc. Okay, these are my circles with the values are some E1, E2, like this. Somewhere here it is say En and this is say EI. Okay, now we are finding EI, sorry, all are disjoint, no? Here I have taken wrong interpretation. All circles are disjoint, no? So let me take the disjoint circles. Correct. Let this be E1. Let this be E2. Somewhere here it is some ith one, and let this be nth one. Now we were finding En complement. What is En complement? This is R actually, except R, except En whole set R, En complement. And if I want to find its intersection with EI, what will be En complement with EI?
EI.
Is it EI, right? Good. For I not equals to. And if for I equal to n, this is En intersection En complement. And what is the intersection with the set? And it's, yes, it is empty. Okay. Therefore, what is the value of this term? A intersection EI intersection En complement. For I not equal to n and for I equal to n. This is A intersection EI, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? This is A intersection EI. And what is here? A intersection empty. A intersection empty is empty. Right now? For the above equation, let me put the values again. A intersection EI for I not equal to n and for I equals to n, we have to put empty. Therefore, the above equation becomes. What is my above equation actually? B intersection En complement. Right now? Let us run the sum here. Right? B intersection En complement. We have to put the value here. If this equation becomes, for I equal to 1, what is the value for I equal to 1? Is it A intersection E1? Union with. For I equals to 2, this is A intersection E2. Continue. For I equals to n minus 1, what is the value?
A intersection En minus 1.
En minus 1. Union with. For I equal to n now.
Empty.
This is empty. Therefore, may I say this is union of. Union of what?
I running from 1 to n minus 1.
1 to n minus 1. A intersection E I. Right now? And which one can write as one can write as A intersection with union I equals to 1 to n minus 1 EI. Is it okay? Correct na? Again, distributive laws are used in a reverse manner. Union I equal to 1 to n minus 1 A intersection EI. There is no I in A, therefore we can take it out. How can we take it out? A intersected with union EI. This is the value of B intersection En complement. Let me call it as statement number 3. Okay. Now what one has to do? Whatever the two values we have found, B intersection En and B intersection En complement. By equation number 2 and 3, we will put it in 1. Is that okay? Put
Yes, ma'am.
2 and 3 in 1. Okay. What is 1 actually? M star of B equals to M star of B intersection En. We will write it for our sake of convenience. B intersection En complement. Okay. Let us start with putting the value on B of B also. What is B we have substituted? A intersection union I equals to 1 to n EI. This is what B we have selected, and B intersection En we have obtained as A intersection En. Na? And what is B intersection En complement we have obtained? This is the value. M star of A intersection union I equals to 1 to n minus 1 EI. Right? But if I look at this second term of the right hand side, M star of A intersection union I equals to 1 to n EI, this is true up to n minus 1 terms. And what is the induction hypothesis we have made? Induction hypothesis we have made that the result is true for n minus 1. Therefore, what is the value of A intersection union I equals to 1 to n minus 1 EI? Is it summation I equals to 1 to n minus 1 M star of A intersection EI? Therefore, let me put the value on the second term, right hand side, second term. First term, let me keep it as it is. M star of A intersection En, let me keep it as it is. And here I am going to replace it by summation I equals to 1 to n minus 1 A intersection EI. What is the reason? By induction hypothesis, right now? By induction hypothesis. Now this sum is actually running from 1 to n minus 1, where we have added a term with I equal to n. Therefore, combining both, what is the value? Is it summation I equals to 1 to n A intersection EI. Sorry, M star of A intersection EI. Okay. Okay. Any difficulty?
No, ma'am.
Am I audible? Students?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Not audible? 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 Then? Okay. Therefore, this is what the proof we have obtained. The result is true for us. The result is true for any, no? Okay, let's recall how we have completed the proof. Okay, we started with left hand side and right hand side, and result holds trivially. Assuming the result is true for n minus 1, we are trying to prove this is for any n. Therefore, starting with En is measurable. Why we have taken En is measurable? Because we just want to add the En term. Because up in the induction hypothesis, we get the terms up to En minus 1 only. Therefore, let us add En. Therefore, we have started with En is measurable. According to the definition of En is measurable, this is a definition given by statement number 1. This B we will keep particularly this value. This is actually a term in the left hand side. In order to find this outer measure, we have kept the value of B. Then later we have found the value of B intersection EI, B intersection En complement. B intersection En we have obtained as A intersection En. That of B intersection En complement we have obtained as A intersection union EI up 1 to n minus. Keeping all the values in this statement, we get the proof very easily. Okay. Now in the proof or in the book, there is no proof given for finding B intersection En and B intersection En complement. Rather, there is no set B is used. Here I have given with the help of set B because to make the proof easier. In book, directly they have considered a outer measure of A intersection En complement and all. Okay. This is what I have given on my own way in order to make the proof simpler. Yes, any difficulty with this? If you are, you can ask me. Okay, instead of understanding stepwise proof, understanding stepwise essential, no doubt, but you should remember the theme of a proof. What is the theme in this case? Mathematical induction should be used. Assuming n equal result is 2 for n minus 1, we have to prove it for any n. Any n we have to prove means we have to add En, that we have to keep in mind, and then just use the definition of En is measurable using any arbitrary set B, and just keep the value of B and just go on calculating, you will get the result. Right? So only 2-3 points to remember. Rest all is the calculation, some mathematical part, and we are expert in doing the mathematical part. Right? Okay, understood now? Now let me write this as a note which I told you initially. If we put, okay, let A equals to R, whole set R. Let A is equal to R. Then we get, what we will get? This is the result and we are going to substitute A equals to R. So let us check what is the left hand side. Or both simultaneously one can check. Let us put A equal to R directly. This is M star of R intersection union EI equal to summation M star of R intersection EI. I just kept the value of R. This I is running from 1 to n. Summation is also running from 1 to n. What is the value of R intersection any set?
That any set.
That set itself. Therefore, this is union EI, I running from 1 to n. What on the right hand side? R intersection EI is again EI. Okay. Therefore, what this is giving us? M star is finitely additive. M star is finitely additive. That is, additive property holds not countably, not for countable union. It holds for finite union only. It holds for finite union only. Okay. Any difficulty in this lemma? If you have,
No, ma'am.
Okay. If no, shall I go for next theorem? What the theorem we wanted to prove? The collection curly M of all measurable set of all measurable sets is sigma algebra. Actually, in sigma algebra, two conditions are to prove. Closed under complementation, closed under countable union. But already we have seen that collection of all measurable sets is closed under complementation. Therefore, it will be algebra. Therefore, it remains only to prove it is closed under countable union. Okay. Therefore, here I will write since complement of measurable set is measurable. Complement of measurable set is measurable and finite union of measurable is also measurable. finite union of measurable sets is also measurable. Okay, therefore may I say here directly the set curly M is algebra. Correct, no? This is algebra. Therefore, in order to prove it as a sigma algebra, to prove that curly M is sigma algebra, what we have to do? We have to prove that it is closed under
Countable union.
yes, it is closed under countable union. Okay, again in order to show it is closed under countable union, we will consider the countable union of measurable sets and we have to show that it is also measurable. Okay, here it is closed under countable union, that is countable union of measurable set is measurable. Countable union of measurable sets. Why I am telling in this detail? Because once the idea of what to prove is clear, then only we can proceed for the proof. Countable union of measurable sets is measurable. This is what a theme of a proof is actually. Okay. Therefore, now let me consider the countable collection of pairwise disjoint measurable sets. Let E be the countable collection. E be the countable collection of measurable sets. Measurable sets. Then there exists a countable collection of pairwise disjoint we are considering. Okay, here. A pairwise disjoint. Pairwise, that is all disjoint sets we are considering. Pairwise disjoint measurable sets. Why pairwise disjoint we were considering? Because the above lemma is true for the pairwise or disjoint measurable sets, right? No? Sets En such that. What such that? E is equal to union n equals to 1 to infinity En, or simply you can write union n En. Okay? One can write simply union En over it. Now, what we will do in order to show this E is measurable, knowing that the countable union is measurable, we will first find out countable union of this collection. We will find out countable union of this collection. And that countable union, let me denote it with Fn. Okay, what is my Fn then? Fn is union I equals to 1 to n ei. This also you can write like this. I equals to 1 to infinity ei. Correct, no? Both are same, na? Only the changes of parameter. But as the parameters are running from the lower limit to same lower limit to same upper limit, there is no. This is actually a dummy parameter. Therefore, here among this countable union, we have considered a finite union Fn. Okay. Therefore, here may I say each Fn is measurable? Yes or no? Each Fn is measurable. What these Fn's are actually, do you understand? For n equal to 1, what is F1? This will be E1. E1 itself is measurable. For n equals to 2, this will be F2. What will be this F2 value? Union I running from 1 to 2. What it is giving us? Is it E1 union E2? Right now? What for
Yes,
F3?
ma'am.
What for F3? This is
E1 union E2 union E3.
Good. Okay. And we know all finite unions are measurable. Therefore, we were getting all these FNs are measurable. That is what I have written. Each FN is measurable. Each FN is measurable. Now we will make use of the definition of FN is measurable for an arbitrary set A. Okay. Therefore, here I will write by measurability of FN for any set A. Node of subset of R. Okay. What the definition says? If FN is measurable, then may I say M star of A equals to M star of A intersection Fn added with M star of A intersection Fn complement. Let me call it as statement number 1. Okay. Now the job is to find out what is the value of A intersection Ei and what is the value of A intersection Fn complement. So let me go for finding now A intersection Fn. Can you tell me what is A intersection Fn? This is A intersection. Fn is finite union I equals to 1 to n Ei. Correct now? Then what is the outer measure? And find out these two outer measures. Therefore, may I say what is the outer measure of this? Outer measure of A intersection Fn is outer measure of this right hand side. A intersection union I equals to 1 to n Ei. But what the lemma we have proved just now, this is equal to. Yes? Summation of lemma we want to use. Meaning of lemma is the theorem which we use to prove this main theorem. So what is my lemma? Outer measure of A intersection union Ei is summation M star of A intersection Ei. Therefore, shall I write here? This is summation I equal to 1 to n M star of A intersection Ei. Reason by previous lemma.